Hey everyone, today I am going to give you the first of many demonstrations to come on my channel. Today's will detail explanations on surrounding and flanks. Zerg, as we all know, is a race that relies very heavily on these two aspects of micro, and every game you play should utilize them in one form or another. Let's get started. Alright, first I'm going to show you 23 roaches versus 5 Thors. Now, I tried to do the best with equal cost compensations, but it doesn't really matter. It's as long as the flank control and the non-flank, the straight up control, is even in numbers, it shouldn't matter. The outcome will be clearly recognized. Anyway, as we see, the head-on roaches were barely defeated by the Thors, but they were in fact defeated by the 5 Thors. And we will go right into the surround. Now this is typically, you're not going to get a surround like this, but I wanted to demonstrate, a complete surround. So the roaches are doing a fair amount of damage, and it seems they are going to pull ahead. Now, there were no upgrades, nothing that would make the balance wrong. You could see spines and whatnot, but there's no 1-1 or nothing, no mechanical upgrades either. Alright, let's go straight into Speedling against Combat Marines. Head on. Speedlings, they start getting us around at the bottom there, but it just isn't enough. Head on, the Marines obliterate the Speedlings. Now for the surround. We got some pathing on the outside because they can't reach, but it's clear, the same amount of units, the surround is definitely at an advantage there. 3 against like 9 in the end. Now, Zealots. And I will say right now that this burrow thing was a little bad. I shouldn't have demonstrated it this way, but it does come out to be clear. Basically, when you unburrow, there's a couple milliseconds. I lost a few wings in that time frame where they weren't attacking the Zealots evenly. So it may have came out to a fair fight here, but we'll see how the flank makes a huge difference here in the next demonstration. I gave the Zerglings a little extra room to unburrow this time, but regardless, the Zerglings are going to pull ahead on the surround quite clearly. Same amount of units in both, and I did keep it as best, cost comparison. Alright, 32 Speedlings against 11 Stalkers. This is the head-on attack. They get a little flank at the bottom. I don't think it's going to matter though. Well, I don't think. I know it's not going to matter. And we will go into the surround here. A second. Same amount of everything, just a little more positional advantage with the Speedlings this time. And the Speedlings will come out. Now there's only 3 or so left at the end, but it does demonstrate a clear advantage. I didn't get my control numbers, good enough, but whatever, it still shows an advantage. Here I wanted to show you, because of the fact that we will be discussing Zergling tanks here in a minute, toward the end of the video actually. But I put 12 Mutalisks against 16 Stalkers, and it is quite clear that the Stalkers do come out ahead, much ahead. Now I'm going to add 16 Speedlings and take away 2 Mutalisks, leaving 10 Mutas total. And you will notice that the mutas take a little damage, but the speedlings are in fact tanking most of the damage, allowing, 6 or 7 mutas by the time all the speedlings die, and the mutas pull ahead clearly. So, the cost was kind of, similar, but that's not really what I was going for there. It's the fact that the Zerglings can very well tank with support of Mutalisks. Alright guys, let's check out some applications of surrounds and flanks. This first map I'm going to show you is Scrap Station. On this one I snuck an expand early at the gold, and you can clearly see how I got an advantage on that with the army cost. And I know his composition. I know he's got mostly medevac and marines. I'm going to actually catch one here. That's a good place to put your mutas, on Scrap Station if you're not microing them at the time. Kind of keep them hanging out in the middle. He does have some banshees too. He opened with some banshee harass, as you can see. He's got some damage on them. I'm going to pull my lings back here and prevent him from being able to run from them banelings and clean them all up. Next game is on a map that I despise in PvZ. It is Jungle Basin. Now, I was picking at his rocks for a while. I've been keeping an eye on his unit composition, and I know basically what he's got going on. I seen him push out, so I set up a flank, and I got about 40 Zerglings back there, and about 40 that are on the way. Now, I try to keep them where he can't see him. It's an obvious, and I'm going to try to get these tucked in the back here. He's going to come in my base. He's going to be like, what the hell's going on? There's no units. But to his surprise, I have quite the little trick set up. I could have made a big mistake here if I didn't set it up so far back. He could have easily force fielded my ramp, but luckily I got him far enough into my base. You can see that the flank is just destroying him, slowly but surely. One thing about your flanks, you want to make sure your hotkeys are set up. As you can see back there, I left quite a few Zerglings by accident, which could have made a big difference. We're going to go into this next map. It is Scrap Station again, and this guy is kind of sloppy. He should have not had move commanded into my base, but as you can see, I'm going to try to get my stuff as far in front of him as possible. I'm going to have some lings spawning out here. I'm going to pull him back too late, but that doesn't matter at this point. As you can see, I get a nice little surround. And this could have gone a lot different if he had actually microed, but hey, whatever. Alright guys, let's have an overview, and I'll add in some side notes that I typed up for you. Now, flanking importance we'll do first. When setting up your flank, make sure you know where your engagement will be. Make sure you have it all planned out. Make sure you have your flanking army on a separate control group as your main army. That way, when everything's ready to go, you'll be tidy and you won't be clicking all over the place. It'll be just so easy. It'll help with your timing and everything. Make sure you set your flanking army up outside of the view of a Xel'Naga watchtower, or for instance creep tumors. If your Terran opponent's scanning to kill creep tumors, you wouldn't want the scan to clip a quarter of your flank army out of position. That would be terrible. You would probably lose it, or lose half of your flank army, which is not good. Same thing with observers. Make sure you're not setting up your flank army where observers could be potentially sitting. Obviously, if the Protoss has no Robo Bay, you shouldn't have to worry about observers. But make sure you know what you're going up against. Make sure you know he has a RoboBay, or make sure he is only on gate units, or if he's got Blue Flame Hellions, are you really going to try to surround him with Speedlings? Not a good idea. Make sure you know what your opponent's doing. As always, upgrades are definitely important. They could definitely pull your flanks and surrounds ahead massively. And if you're not upgraded, you could pull off the perfect surround or the perfect flank with the perfect amount of units, and if you didn't have the upgrades, you could lose it. Let's discuss some surround importance. A lot like flanking, surrounding can happen a little different in some situations. When using such tactics, make sure your army is going to win or serve its purpose, like defending or being that last final move in the last battle to determine the game. Make sure units are faster than his. Make sure you can catch up to him to nail that key surround. Make sure you're not trying to surround a group of stim marines with speedlings. It's not a good idea. Make sure you wait till that stim wears off, and then you can go ahead and engage him with a surround. Now some tips about surrounding in general, if you're not too familiar with surrounding. When you're trying to get a surround, you want to run your units 3/4 to all the way past your opponent's army, heading in the same direction he is, with a move command. Now, you're not attack moving, because they'll just trail behind him, picking at him. You want to move 3/4 to all the way past him, and then you can hit your attack move on the ground, and you can watch the surround magic happen. Now, make sure you have enough too. I mean, does he have 4 Marines and 6 SCVs headed to your base in the first 4.5 minutes? If he does, make sure you don't just bring 6 Zerglings. Make sure you get out 6, drones at the same time, because you're gonna need it. You're definitely gonna need it. And make sure, as he's trying to kite your units, just ignore him and walk right past him in the direction he's kiting you, and then you can hit, attack move on the ground, and you can surround him that way. Guys, when setting up your flanks and surrounds, make sure force fields aren't going to mess you all up. Make sure you're not planning a surround or a flank in obstacle infested areas, or in ramp areas, anywhere that could hinder your flank reinforcements getting to your main army. Keep them areas clear out of your engagement paths. Also, colossi and tanks, make sure you're not engaging your flanks unless you have like 5-to-1 in numbers. Make sure you're being smart about jumping into that area of effect area. It's devastating. That's about it for this video, guys. If I missed anything, please add some comments below, and you're always welcome to add video responses, even if it's just your mug in your webcam just talking about whatever, or telling me I'm all wrong, or adding little tidbits to this demonstration. It's definitely a nice little open forum here. I hope you guys definitely share your comments. Also, a little task for you guys. I'd like it if you could tell me and everybody else about your favorite maps to flank on, and where the key engagement points are in those maps. Make sure you comment, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll see you again soon, guys.